Welcome everybody. Welcome to old and new surf members and faces. It's so nice to see some of you, and hopefully I see most of you in the social portion of it, and we can actually see each other. Would be lovely to be in person, but I'm not going to belabor that too much, and so we can get started because we do have a full agenda. Okay, can everyone just do a review and approval of the agenda? So I'm not sure if everybody knows that all of our materials for today are online. Okay, so we're going to be doing things a little different this year for the election. I'm going to give the election report to our parliamentarian, Ryan. So we had this year, one empty spot on the board from the previous term and 5 directors' terms who were up. So that means that we had 6 spots available on the board. Right now we have 6 amazing nominees for the board that have come forward. Brennan Lowry, Kristen Catherwood, David Felker, Wayne Kelly, Heather Exner-Perot, and Patrick Broder, who will all say a little something in a minute. All right, then I'm going to ask those who are putting their name forward for the board to say a little something so people get to know them. Some of yours, of course, returning board members, but let's start with Brennan Lowry.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Brennan. I am now involved with surf for 4 years, the entirety of my PhD work at Memorial. I was brought to surf, like many, through my supervisor, Kelly Vodden, and then brought further in and kept in the surf loop by many great mentors and partners and friends. And I have been on the surfboard for 2 years now. You know, as my PhD work has calmed down, I've tried to get more involved. I had the chance to become the secretary after an unfortunate change of you know, roles, and now I'm just excited to, you know, continue on the board, and I'm more than happy to keep that role going if that's a possibility, and just look forward to all the great partnerships going forward on rural data sharing and all of their ways that I hopefully can contribute to this great organization.
Perfect, thanks, Brennan. Next is Kristen.
Everybody. So I was born and raised on a family farm here in Saskatchewan, and I'm living in rural Saskatchewan again in Radville in Treaty 4 territory. I'm the Director of Living Heritage for Heritage Saskatchewan, which is a nonprofit organization based here in Saskatchewan, obviously, and a lot of my work normally involves me being out in rural communities, doing community engagement. I've also worked as an economic development officer in a town that's transitioning away from coal production. And my educational background is in folklore. I have a master's in folklore from Memorial University of Newfoundland. So I didn't know any of you when I was actually in Newfoundland, but it's been a nice connection that I've made since. This will be my 2nd term on the board, just finishing up my first 2 years, and I'm looking forward to moving forward some of the governance and strategic directions for surf, and I'm really passionate about the great work that this organization does and the wonderful people that I've met along the way. And I'll be sad to see some of them leave the board this time around, but looking forward to getting to know you, Patrick and Heather. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome, thanks. And Dave, you're up next.
Hi everybody, my name is Dave. I am a community development consultant out here on the Gaspé Coast in Quebec. I've just finished, as of 5 minutes ago, my 2-year term on the surfboard and ready to start another 2. I'm also chair of the membership committee, which has not been moving forward too much this past year, just due to some logistical issues and the fact that we're hoping that we get some action planning done and we get a sort of membership role clear path coming out of that, but I'm looking forward to being part of that process, to finishing up the action planning process, and to be on deck for the next 2 years to help. I think above all else, one of the things I want to make sure happens is to raise membership here in Quebec, and make sure SURF has a stronger presence here in the province of Quebec. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, Dave. And Wayne.
Hi, Wayne Kelly, in Brandon, Manitoba. This might gonna be my second term on the board. I've been involved in SURF since 2015, sort of officially, but definitely been aware of it before that. And I got involved with SURF through my role as a project coordinator at Rural Policy Learning Commons. I'm also a grad student, a PhD student who's just finishing up, and I'm studying in rural Ireland and looking at rural, and as you might have heard today, digital technologies. And it actually came up in our breakout session yesterday in the New Researchers Forum that this group is one of the best groups that I've participated in terms of that bridges researchers, practitioners, policymakers, community members, and it's also the funnest group I've been part of as well too. So I'm really looking forward to continuing on. And there we go, Dave. And as RPLC transitions down, I'm excited to be sort of still on the board and continuing with this going forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wayne. Heather, let's hear from you. Hi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Exner-Pro. I was the co-chair at the 2018 SURF conference in Saskatoon, so I might have met some of you guys there. I was working at the University of Saskatchewan for 9 years, but moved to Alberta about a year ago. So now what I mostly do is consulting with First Nations on economic development, especially engagement and resource development. But my research has been historically more focused on Arctic and Northern research. I'm still the managing editor of the Arctic Yearbook, and I still do lots in Saskatchewan. I'm on the board of Saskatchewan Indigenous Economic Development Network. So I guess those are my interests, is reconciliation, resource development, economic development, and northern development. So glad to be here and be part of the crew by acclamation.
Thank you so much, Heather. And Patrick, and please introduce your side.
Hello, Sarah. Thanks to everyone for letting me join the meeting. I'm currently on parental leave at the moment, so I'm full-time taking care of this little lady. My daughter Early. She's 6 months old, and she's big and bold, just starting to move around. So one of the few advantages of having to go online this year was that I was able to participate in the conference, whereas if it had been in Quebec as scheduled, I wouldn't have been able to make it. So I appreciate you guys making the big effort for the online this year, and it was great to sit in and listen. I'll also make a very quick apology for I was part of the New Researchers Forum yesterday, and I didn't join in the sort of breakout part because I had to take this little one out. She was getting a bit funny, so she needed to fall asleep. I was on my phone for the first time with Zoom, and I thought, oh, I'll be able to figure it out on my phone, and I couldn't. So I couldn't make it to the breakout. So sorry I missed that. I first learned about SURF back in 2013. I was attending the Canadian Geographers meeting. I think it was in Halifax, and I met Ryan Gibson and a few others there, and they let me know about SURF, and I've been following the work since, and I've been a member for the last few years. My research here in British Columbia, I'm the BC Regional Innovation Chair, Tourism and Sustainable Rural Development, and I'm one of those researchers. I usually say I'm a tourism researcher who doesn't care about tourism. So it's what can tourism do for rural communities, and that's pretty much in the title of my research position. My research work is all across BC. I've got projects from the Great Bear Rainforest on the Pacific coast all the way over to the Rocky Mountains, and also do some work in Yukon and other parts of Canada. But so I'm hoping that if as part of the board that I can continue doing some rural tourism work, maybe adding to some of the rural tourism work. You already do some tourism related work as part of SURF, and also I'm heavily engaged with Indigenous tourism and Indigenous economic development in BC, so happy to work a little bit on that too with you guys going forward. And hopefully between now you got a bit more West Coast representation, hopefully maybe sometime in the long term in the future bring the surf conference back to the West Coast. So thanks. And sorry that we're here together today.
Oh, no worries at all. The surf is used to babies in the background and whatnot. What a great group. Okay, can I get a seconder to accept these wonderful nominations to the board? Seconded by Patrick. Thank you, Patrick. And do I have anyone opposed? Please put your opposition in the chat box.
And by doing so, essentially means you become a board member.
Yeah, exactly. Yay, passed. What an exciting new board. I'm so excited for everything you guys are going to do. And yeah, we'll chat a little bit more after we're done our agenda, maybe in the social. Congratulations, everybody, and congratulations to Surf for getting such a stellar group. Wow. Okay, so next we have the report of the president. So that's me. Yay. So during the committee updates, you're going to get some of the more detailed updates about the items listed in the annual report and the things that the committees have been up to. So I wanted to take this time in the agenda to give some major credit where credit is due to our board members and volunteers who are really the engines that keep surf going. Because despite it being a global pandemic, and maybe in the face of it, this has been a monumental year for surf. And I'm not just saying that because I was president, but I also realized that many of the things that we were able to achieve this year has been in the works for years, and we are certainly standing on the shoulders of past boards and committee members' hard work. Okay, here I go to try to acknowledge all the hard work that everyone has done this year, though I'm sure I will miss items and I will miss people because there's just so much. So first, Kirsten Catherwood, who is just so beautifully steered the efforts of the Logo and Visual Identity Committee this year, and who is an important member of the Partnerships Committee and the COVID-19 and Rural Subcommittee. And Kirsten is always there to give really thoughtful insight on tough conversations, such as our response to the Black Lives Matter movement and our vision for surf. So thank you so much, Kirsten, for all your hard work. Thank you to Kyle Rich, who stepped up to plan Surf 2020 and then somehow got tricked into planning Surf 2021 when he had to switch over to the Surf 2020 virtual conference format. I can't thank you enough for that. Kyle has also been a powerhouse this year with getting funding for Surf and for the 2020 and 2021 conference. He was also successful in getting a Shirk Connections grant for the conference. He has also worked really hard with Heather Hall to craft a Shirk Partnership Engage grant, which they're successful in as well and will aid in producing Surf State of Rural Canada 4, which Kyle is co-leading with Heather Hall. Wow. He's also an active member of the Partnerships Committee and does a whole lot else that I'm probably not even mentioning. Kathleen Cavani, thank you for giving your leadership with the Rural Research Centers Network, which is going to be an important part of surf one day when we figure out just how, and bridging the good work that that network does and bringing it back to surf, and for all your leadership on the Partnerships Committee, which you lead, and so many other things. You're always willing to step up and lend a helping hand in all surf initiatives and lend your important expertise in so many rural topics. Dave Felker, thank you for being our courageous leader of the membership committee, as well as an active member of the Partnerships Committee and the Envisioning Committee, and always providing an important perspective from Quebec and a little laughter to our meetings. Wayne Kelly, thank you for all the hard work on the Archives Committee and the Communications Committee, the Conference Planning Committee, the COVID-19 and Rural Subcommittee, and the Partnerships Committee. Also, thank you for all that you do dovetailing between RPLC and SURF and ensuring whatever hat you're wearing that rural Canada benefits. We appreciate it. Katie, thank you to Katie Allen, who, if I didn't know was a full-time PhD student, I would think is a full-time employee of SURF. Due to all of the very hard work you have done on SURF's envisioning and strategic planning process, we're indebted to you. I'm so excited for this new plan and the future direction for SURF, and so grateful that we had you leading this process. Also, thank you for your many other contributions on the RPLC Surf Alliance, the Partnerships Committee, Conference Planning Committee, and the COVID-19 and Rural Subcommittee. Lori, thank you for your conscientious and competent handling of Surf's finances in your role as treasurer, and all of your leadership and direction on the executive. I really don't know what we would ever do without you, and I know we're going to find out in 2 years because you are on your last term. But thank you for all these years looking after the finances. Thank you also for your hard work on the Communications Committee, the Envisioning and Strategic Planning Committee, the Conference Planning Committee, and the COVID-19 and Rural Subcommittee. Brennan Lowry, thank you for your expertise and willingness to always help out when needed, despite it being a really busy time in your PhD. Thank you for being an amazing secretary, always keeping me on track as well as the rest of the board, for being willing to guide the board through important conversations as well, like how to address racism in rural Canada and even in our own organization. And for your contributions on the Partnerships Committee, Envisioning Strategic Planning Committee, and the COVID-19 and Rural Committee. Thank you so much to our amazing, amazing board. Past presidents. Okay, I have just a couple other. I know this is like a wedding speech where it's just like no one cares unless you're in it, but here I go. Past presidents and board members like Sarah Breen, Heather Hall, Sean Markey, Ray Bowman, Bill Reimer, David Douglas, Patrick Levesque, and the list goes on, who continue to volunteer their time and energy to many surf efforts. Thank you so much. Ryan Gibson, thank you for being Surf's institutional memory and for helping me every step of the way this year. Your work on the Communications Committee and with so many other surf tasks, some I'm sure I'm not even aware of, is truly astonishing. Thank you for all that you do. Also, thank you to Ryan's research assistants with the communications team who are funded through the Rural Policy Learning Commons. Thank you, RPLC. And before that, Ryan funded this position with his own research funding. And a big thanks to Corin Lamb and our newly hired Sean Jeffries, who I'll introduce later in the meeting. And thank you to the committee members like Karen Foster, Heather Mayer, Craig Pollitt, Josh Barrett, Anastasia Slavovna, Boyan Furst, Nicole Breeden, Valencia Gaspard, Maggie Henry, Audrey Keating, Natalie Lewis, Abigail Rezelman, Munzaline Saeed, and Danielle Collins. And last, but certainly but not least, thank you to Ashley Whedon. You came to Surf at a critical time when we wanted to respond to the pandemic, but needed some horsepower to make our ideas happen. You made this conference and the whole Rural Insights COVID-19 series happen. And now we have so much to show for it. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry if I missed anyone. I'm truly thankful for everyone here today and all who have contributed to Surf and make it more than just a network, but a community. Okay, that's it. Treasurer report. You're up, Lauren.
Okay, so everybody, I was just put in the chat, how do we thank you, Sarah? My gosh, I mean, the amazing work that you've done on our behalf this year. You have taken Surf to another level, and you have whipped us and kept us going, and we've done it all with a great smile on her face, because she always has a great smile on her face. And, you know, we just have to, you know, live up to her standards, and they're pretty high, and we're doing a damn good job, people. So Sarah, thank you. And I hope that other people will chime in as well. I just really appreciate the leadership that you've shown this year, and we're gonna miss you, but you're not going far, woman. Nope. Anyway, treasurer's report. It's online as part of the package that's there. I just wanted to flag a couple of things. As you probably noticed, our income year over year is a little bit lower than it has been in previous years. And so part of that has to do with conference revenue not being as high this past year as it has been. I think in the two previous years, we had two excellent conference surpluses. And then last year, in 2019, we didn't. So that was part of the reason that our 2019 revenue was lower. I also wanted to say that last year we had that amazing, not last year, but the year before that, amazing donation from Peter Apedale, which was matched by our members at the AGM. And I'm sorry we don't get to do that this year. My goodness, that was fun having our AGM and banquet and everything. But we brought in a lot of donations in that previous year, and so those haven't, that hasn't materialized as well. But we have a plan for getting our memberships up and for soliciting donations a little bit more aggressively, perhaps, or assertively. And part of that is if you feel like you would like to donate some money to SURF, please do so. We're a nonprofit. It goes to such a great cause and supports so much work on behalf of rural Canada that you won't be sorry. Plus, you get a tax receipt. I also just wanted to say that our bank balance, for the record, is we have a $25,000 GIC this year. And then on top of that, we also have a $31,562.85 bank balance as of the end of August. There have been some memberships come in and some donations come in since then. And so probably, these will show up in next year's AGM report, but we'll be reporting on those at our first board meeting. So if anybody has any questions, I can try to answer them. If you don't if you want to take a minute to look through it and come back later on chat, and I can engage with you through chat if you have any questions as well, happy to do so. So thank you so much for everything. What a great board to work with. I'm just so thrilled. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Lori. Does anyone have any questions for Lori? Put it in the chat. Okay. If there's no questions, then do we have someone to motion the approval of the 2019 audited statement? Heather Hall moves it. Do we have a seconder? Seconder, Sarah Breen. Perfect. Sorry, I'm not looking at cameras. The chat is all I'm looking at. Wayne, I'm sorry. All right. Do we have anyone opposed to accepting the 2019 audited statement? Okay. Seeing nothing, then it has passed. Perfect. All right. And now we have the appointment of the auditor for 2020-2021.
Well, I guess that's me again. I would like to reappoint Harris Ryan. They've done an amazing job of, they do things that I don't even know that they're doing. And I find out when I think, oh my gosh, are we registered as a charity still in Calgary and rather in Alberta, and have to go and email them and say, oh yes, we did that for you. So I think that they're on top of everything. They're doing a great job. The amount of money that we pay them is what's worth every penny. So I would like to move, if I'm allowed, that we appoint the Harris Ryan in St. John's, Newfoundland as our auditor for the next year.
Okay, do we have a seconder then? Oh, seconder Kathleen, perfect. All right, is anyone opposed hiring Harris Ryan as our auditors for the 2020-2021 year? Okay, approved. Perfect. All right, we're just chugging along. All right, so we're up to committee reports. First up is Brennan with the executive committee report.
Okay, I'll try to keep this short. The executive, most of what we deal with is looking at, or I should say, it's mostly Sarah who kind of vets and fosters partnerships of various kinds, and those are things like formal letters of support as well as informal offers of support, things like groups approaching SURF to use the logo or to list SURF as one of their partners on a project or grant of some sort. So the major form of support is, executive decisions are letters of support. And since October 4th of last year, if my math is correct, SURF provided 10 letters of support and offered in-kind services like knowledge mobilization, promoting organizations or initiatives on their communication channels, as well as coordination and mentorship of students. And often those letters of support include an in-kind contribution that has a monetary value attached to it. And we offered in the past year at least $84,000 of in-kind support, probably much more. And so, we also looked at a few things like some expressions of interest. The executive worked with other surf-related initiatives, such as the CRTC submission to the federal government. We kind of looked through and vetted the job ad for the part-time position, which I'm sure will be a very capable person. And that's most of what we're up to. You know, Lori and Sarah, feel free to add anything, but that's been most of what our activity's been.
Yeah, we just really give out letters of support, approve money going out, and yeah, we'll get updates of the other stuff from other committees. Awesome. Okay. Dave, membership committee.
Sure, I will also try to keep it short. First off, big thank you to Ryan, who sent me an email yesterday with an update on the membership committee as I was literally going into the website to pull off the list myself. So he did a whole bunch of work for me that he probably did in 3 minutes, where it took me probably an hour. So I'm very, very thankful for that. We, as a committee, we held one formal meeting this year. There was 4 of us. We lost one to other things. Brennan had other things to do. We lost one, disappeared, and so that put us down like 2, me and Ashley. And we sort of decided that it was more or less decided to hold off on until the action planning was done for SURF, because there was a lot of decisions and directions that we wanted to make, but it was kind of contingent on where the action planning was taking us. That being said, we did discuss different things about membership benefits and the tiered pay scale and all these different things. So more to follow for sure when it comes to that. But that being said, we had between our $30 1-year memberships and our $100 5-year memberships, we are currently at, and when I say current, I mean as of 5 minutes ago, 111 members with 1 pending, depending on how he's trying to figure out how to pay. Right, Lori? So we could be 112. So that we have a decent number of members. They've definitely increased a lot over the last week. We've had a lot of people coming in and signing on for 5-year memberships. Yes, if you are not a member, check your status. We do have people who are in this meeting that may or may not know, but they are not necessarily members. So just double check your status. We've had some email issues as well. So, but I'm just going to give you a quick breakdown because Ryan so nicely spelled it out for me, so I will share it with you. We have memberships expiring in 2020. We have 15 memberships expiring in 2020. 24 in 2021, 19 in 2022, 10 in 2023, 19 in 2024, and we have 13 new memberships taking us to 2025. We also have 11 lifetime members. So that is the current status of our membership, which I am looking to improve to what, let's say, I'm just going to put this out there. You can hold it, you can put it in the minutes and commit me to it. We're at 111. We will be at 200 members by next year. That's my goal. So that's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave, for all your hard work on the memberships committee. Okay. Next is communications committee. Ryan.
Yeah, so the communications committee has been very active over the last year, and it's probably one of the groups that you probably receive more engagement from SURF from on a day-to-day basis, but may not even realize where it's coming from. And so the SURF Communications Committee does a few initiatives. One is the newsletter that goes out every month to over about 2,600 Canadians and folks internationally that get news about what SURF is doing, what's going on, things that they should be thinking about. And that's an open invitation that if anybody here on the discussion or that's listening in has stories they want to share, please do send them in to SURF, because we can include them in the monthly newsletter. And the deadline is usually the 10th of every month for submissions. The second piece that we did this year, or that we usually do, is the website, which is kind of the repository of all things SURF knowledge-wise. And that has been fantastic. And The other big activity we did this year was a monumental undertaking, which was the redevelopment of the SURF website and the SURF newsletters. And so if you've not been to the SURF website recently, I highly recommend taking a look. We had Corin Lamb working with us for the past almost year. I hope Corin is here, but if not, she was an absolute rock star in getting us through the migration to our new website, to the look and feel of it. There are still a few things that are maybe a little hiccups here and there, but for the most part, everything is doing really well, and it looks really professional, really clean. And if there are suggestions on the website, we absolutely welcome any ideas, any functions that you think would be useful on that front. And so those have been the big activities from the communications committee side of things. And it's wonderful to say that I think we're at almost 96 consecutive monthly newsletters. So it takes us back to about 2012 that we've been circulating. It's a lot of content that has gone out. And also just a quick plug in terms of some upcoming newsletters. The November newsletter will be an opportunity to showcase the rural research centers across Canada. So you'll be able to get a sense of what they're up to and some of their recent achievements. And then in February, every year, we devote the newsletter to emerging researchers, whether you're in academia, whether you're in community, whether you're in government, but it's an opportunity to profile some of the new initiatives and the folks that are working on them. So that'll be coming up in a few months' time, and we'd welcome any contributions of that.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you for so much of your hard work on that. Kathleen, Partnerships Committee.
Excellent work, team. Yes, so much good happening. The political and influence and advocacy group, along with some of the work of the executive in the past year, morphed into this kind of group doing the strategic directions. And over the last year, we've helped do a number of things, some mentioned in other reports, of course, with letters of support, defining some of the parameters around who are we going to be partnering with, what kind of standards might we be applying, some of rural priorities when we get questions about some hot items, partnerships contributes to directions there as well. Of course, the excellent work of the ambassadorial role that President Minnis has played in bringing us in such good alignment with our elected officials and staff within the offices. We saw it yesterday with Minister Monsa, and today again with Ray Orb with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. So these dynamics are part of the building of relations, but it is some of the mandate of partnerships to build those and to do further outreach. So I think part of what we had hoped to do is strengthen the relationships we have and build further. Kyle too has been working on connections with the Canadian Centre for Rural Creativity. We have that name wrong, along with work with our friends in health, northern physicians working in remote communities as well. So there's many partnerships that we have continued, some we've cultivated, and new ones we would still like to develop. So I think in summary is that we continue the great work of what the executive was doing and also what political advocacy kind of group was doing, and look to being a strong voice for rural through that. Any comments or questions?
Great. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for that update and all your hard work with the partnerships and advocacy part of things.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Allen. I'm so pleased to speak to the strategic planning process SURF is currently undertaking. So I'll just give a brief overview of how we started and what we've been up to and some of the next steps that we're going to take in the coming weeks. So we started this process with an analysis of the 2015-2020 plan that identified plan alignments and gaps with the goals and objectives. So through that process, and of course much discussion, we identified 4 priority actions SURF will need to focus on moving forward into 2021 to 2026. So by analyzing the plan alignment, and identifying those gaps, we were able to create operational goals. And so these goals will help us meet the 4 priority actions. So those 4 priority actions that we've identified are firstly, working on positioning SURF. The second is financial stability. The third is organizational capacity. And the 4th is governance. So to ensure that we engaged all the board members throughout the process, we hired Jocasta Boone to facilitate 4 online sessions that we held through Zoom. So these sessions were divided into operational and organizational envisioning sessions. So the first session focused on the operational side of things, and that included helping us to identify the current state of SURF, talking through and understanding the organization as it is today, discussing who we are and what we do and how we do it and who we serve, and what makes SURF unique. So all of those pieces are going to help us build the mission, vision, and values. So the great contributions to emerge from that section will help us in the crafting of our new and exciting positioning and moving forward for that section. For the governance piece, we discussed the importance of baking in diversity and inclusion into all decision-making processes, and what the board role and what some of the risks might be and policies and procedures that we need to create. The second session focused on organizational priorities. So in these discussions, we talked about current funding, future funding opportunities, and the potential for innovating. Within these sessions, we flagged the imperative of finding some core funding and diversifying will be the ability to hire staff and build organizational capacity that will help serve shepherd the great work and growth that we strategize over the next few years. So just to wrap up, next steps for this process, we'll be working with Jocasta on the positioning of SURF and refining our mission, vision, and values. And really this will happen over the next few weeks, and it will really be that foundation from which we build the rest of the plan on. I just wanted to thank the great work and thoughtful contributions and time of the board in shaping and navigating the envisioning and strategic planning so far, and of course the great work of the envisioning and strategic planning subcommittee group. I really look forward to these next steps in this process. It's going to be a big year. So thanks everyone.
Thanks, Katie, for an amazing report or the amazing work you did on this whole process. Katie drove it and made the connections and kept us on track, and it was just a really wonderful exercise, so much so that our facilitator Jocasta Boone fell in love with SURF, and she is just enamored with us and thinks that we're doing an amazing job. So I hats off, and it truly was magical. So if you can imagine a strategic planning exercise being magical, it was. So Sarah's not back yet. So Bill and Wayne, you're up next to talk about the SURF archives. Who wants to go first?
Well, I can go first. But just before that, excuse me, I just wanted to mention that we have about 10 or 12 student projects that were generated in a McGill class on fundraising and organizational development. Now they include pamphlets and documents. They include videos of their presentations. It's a tremendous resource for any group or people that are going to be starting to look at the framing and fundraising opportunities. So I'm not sure who might pay attention to this, but if they get in touch with me, I can pass those on. And they were done maybe about 8 years ago, but they are a tremendous set of documents because they were produced by a number of different student groups, all with the same focus on surf. The instructor had come to me and said, "Oh, we need an example. How about surf?" So it's I don't know if it's ever been used in the way it could be used, but whoever's involved in that and whenever it happens, let me know and I'll pass these things on. Wonderful. Okay, archives. The archive is moving ahead. We're very pleased that Guelph University has agreed to be the site for the archives. And they, right now they're closed. So we've had a bit of a hiatus in terms of the actual moving of materials, but that's no problem because we have we have a number of things that we can do. And I've contacted them before they shut down and I have a good idea of what they require. So there's lots of curating to do. And this is also a call for any volunteers or people who are interested in it. More specifically, I have shipped a number of boxes to Ryan, and Ryan has agreed to be the repository until the Guelph site opens. We have a number of boxes that emerged from Tony Fuller, and that's been nice because they've all been carefully documented by Alex Petrick, so we're well off the mark on that. I was hoping to have the NRE materials ready, but some of you might know we moved from Quebec to BC this last August. So my time was too taken up with curating my personal materials, and so I just brought out the NRE stuff with me, and I'll do it when I'm here. So we have the materials well placed. We have materials from Peter Apedale, from Tony Fuller, from David Douglas, and some of the other presidents, I think, are included in that. It's a fantastic collection for anybody who is interested in surf history, in the history of organizations like surf. I've had numerous questions from colleagues internationally who've said, well, how come you can make this work? What would you identify as the key elements? And if anybody would like to take on answering that as they are going through the materials, it would be a beautiful contribution, I think, to that kind of a question. The next steps are involved the preparation of the documents and the materials we do have to meet the standards and organization of the Guelph funds. So that means taking a lot of the information that we already have. We have a pretty good account of what's there, but it means reorganizing it somewhat and getting it into a form that Guelph approves. And I think that part of this means formulating the framework for that. It's a task, I think, that I will be working at and maybe have it done by the end of this year. And then we use that framework for putting the detailed information into it and identifying where it's located. And that would be something that would follow on. It's a standard curating procedure for any archives. And it's a longer process. It's one that, as I say, somebody else might be interested in getting involved in, or for a short period of time or a long period of time or around a particular period of time and so on. It's a kind of an exciting process when you start to see all of the things that we've done and the conversations back and forth. A lot of them are recorded in emails, of course. If you know of anybody who might be interested, then that also would be, they would be welcome to get in touch with me, and I will see what I can do to both give them the entertainment value and to move the archives ahead. I haven't made use of the people on the board who had said that they are interested in helping out, mostly because I've been trying to get things organized. But I think it would be useful for the board to reconsider or to reappoint somebody. I think to have someone on the board who checks in to what's going on and to convey the information, to provide encouragement. It's always nice to know that somebody's listening or interested, and to help me make some policy decisions along the way, and of course act as a boundary maintenance, or make sure I'm still proceeding in an acceptable fashion to the board. And any others who wish to volunteer to help with the curating process for short or long periods would also be welcome. I have written this up. I passed on a copy to Ryan on the assumption that he would know how to distribute it to the AGM members better than I would. But the report is available in that, a fuller detailed report is available in that form. So if there are any questions, comments, or Wayne, perhaps you wanted to add something.
Yeah, so just so you know, Bill, I have been providing updates to the board as we've been going along. And with my RPLC hat on, the intent has always been sort of for this effort to dovetail with the transition from RPLC. Luckily, with the archives closed, RPLC has also been extended a little bit. So everything's sort of still dovetailing, just slowing it down a few months at this point. But yeah, so in a similar vein, the RPLC website and policy briefs and all those other materials that have been sort of produced and sort of categorized and collated through RPLC will also get included in those archive efforts. So that's not something that we're putting on Bill at all. It's something we're learning from Bill in terms of how this process goes and providing him some support. And then that's something we'll be doing through RPLC ideally as well. So I do, and I'll continue to, I'll volunteer here to continue providing those updates to the board and to anyone within CRRF that would be interested. So, and I'll continue to keep connected with you, Bill, and yeah, let's follow up and talk about what supports you need to make sure that this is not just on your shoulders and that we can help you move along quicker.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you, Bill and Wayne, for all your hard work on that committee, and what an important thing. Thank you, and Bill for coming up with the idea. Okay, so I'm going to do my RPLC CRRF Alliance update. So the RPLC CRRF Alliance, if people didn't know, was created to recognize the symbiotic relationship between the RPLC and CRRF and to build capacity in CRRF. So eventually CRRF could take on RPLC legacy items. This includes communications activities, webinars, and other important networking functions. So many of the items for this committee is done through CRRF's Communications Committee, the Envisioning Committee that Katie spoke to, and our Conference Planning Committee. But there were some items that were just committee work, such as a 2021 winter policy event that we had money for, but due to COVID, we were not able to hold a rural policy event in person for winter 2021. And instead we have focused energy on convening rural policy related workshops with senior provincial and territorial staff in Canada regarding various rural topics. And we're doing this in collaboration with Dr. Ryan Gibson. So we reallocated the funding for the 2021 rural policy event to the communications budget, and funding that the RPLC gave us to improve membership services. We also reallocated to the communications budget, and to make a bigger budget to fund a SURF communications and research assistant position to help the Alliance and SURF with both communications transitions as well as research assistant work for the transition into RPLC legacy tasks, like help with bumping up our membership, maybe somehow including international members from the RPLC in the SURF membership of things, providing administrative support to the SURF board, and working on strategic partnerships. So we actually just hired an amazing University of Guelph student named Sean Jeffries, who we really look forward to working with. Sean, could you just maybe turn on your camera and say hi? Is it too much to ask? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. That's Sean.
Hey, everyone. Hey.
And you'll probably be seeing Sean. It's too bad that Sean couldn't join us. It's not an in-person conference and you can meet all these crazy people, but you'll probably hear a lot from Sean in the next year, and he's going to be helping us with a lot of things. We also reallocated $15,000. So from the RPLC SURF Alliance budget, we reallocated the $15,000 we were going to use to do strategic planning in person as a group to the COVID-19, to the Rural Insights COVID-19 initiative. So I think that we invested that money pretty wisely. And we had a great strategic planning session. I know that Katie probably talked about that, but due to her hard work and the great facilitator we had, it was actually very fun and not painful at all, which was a big surprise for me. Okay, so with the committee reports wrapped up, we have our announcement of our new lifetime member. And Bill Reimer, I think that you're going to present that for us.
Okay, it says Diane Looker is our new SURF lifetime member for 2020. So that's an exciting event. And I would like to introduce you to Diane for those who don't know her. And I'll run through some of the lovely parts of the Diane's contributions and so on. I first met Diane about 1981, if you can imagine, my ancient history, when I was on the executive of the Canadian Sociology and Anthropology Association. She was a member of the Professional Ethics Committee at that time and made frequent contributions at both committee and annual meetings. I quickly realized that she was someone to be reckoned with. In Quebec, we use the expression une femme de caractère très fort. It's a kind of a generous recognition of special women who have a strong character. Our interactions at that time were largely about organizational and ethical issues relating to our profession, but they made clear to me that Diane was a thoughtful and a passionate colleague, a champion of women's rights, sensitive to the impacts of organizational structures, and not shy to identify injustice where it might occur. It was about 10 years later that I discovered her involvement with rural Canada. I was organizing the 1993 ARG National Conference, ARG being the precursor to SURF, and discovered that Diane lived in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. That year we were holding it in the east somewhere. It was a perfect site for our meeting. By that time, she had already established herself as an expert on rural youth as part of her research focus on education, gender, family, and the transition to the labor force. I was particularly impressed by her thoughtful and methodical approach to the many questions that emerge from such analysis. As a result of her very generous contributions to the success of the Wolfville Conference, I was also inspired and guided by my understanding of rural youth, migration, and their options for the labor force, thanks to Diane's contributions. Rather than interpret their choices as the result of individual capacities and preference, Diane has carefully documented the ways in which their social and institutional contexts have conditioned those choices. She's shown how gender, family, educational institutions, information technology, and indigenous status and geographical location, like being in rural areas, have structured their aspirations and their social mobility. Diane's exploration and elaboration of these dynamics has been rooted in careful comparative analysis. This has taken her to both international venues, such as Australia and Norway, as well as a variety of provinces and territories in Canada, including the far north. An experience that we took advantage of in the NRE project, for example, when she was in Baffin Island. Her many contributions have been recognized by more than 50 research awards and contracts, including a 13-year appointment as the Canada Research Chair in Equity and Technology at Mount St. Vincent University. Her commitment as a public intellectual has been consistently manifested in a variety of ways. She's been a champion of public data, using, advocating, and supporting the design and expansion of Statistics Canada activities, and devoted much of her time to collaboration with government departments and community groups as they develop educational programs and lobby for more appropriate responses to rural conditions. She's been an active proponent of knowledge mobilization, disseminating her findings and insights to non-academic audiences such as education officials, teachers, and students. Just so you don't come away with the impression that Diane is an ivory tower academic and perhaps more appropriate for our surf style people, I should also point to her other passions, like wood turning, stand-up comedy, a very nice skill I would expect for any professor, and dancing. Except for the dancing and the occasional presentation, we don't get to see these talents, but I find that they're all elements that contribute to the depth of her work. This is a lifetime devoted to understanding and improving conditions for rural people, the youth, their families, and educators. I hope it's inspirational for the new generation of rural advocates and scholars, not only in the research findings, but in the fertile imagination, the respect for systematic evidence, and commitment to collaboration it reflects. All qualities that clearly justify her appointment as a lifetime member in SURF. Congratulations, Diane. I see you're on the list here. And I want to personally thank you for all of the many contributions that you have made to all of us. Thank you.
Congratulations, Diane.
Thank you. And Ray's here helping me celebrate. I want to say a few words, if I may.
Of course.
So I think that's bubbly non-alcoholic cider, which is a bit of a disappointment. We'll get to some other stuff later. Anyway, I am absolutely delighted and very much honored I've been involved in and out with surf over many decades, and certainly have great admiration for all of those like Bill and Ray and many of the others who are already lifetime members. So I feel really honored to be part of that heady crowd. As I say, I sometimes felt I was kind of hovering around the edges of surf, as I did a bit with the new rural economy project that Bill oversaw. And part of that is because a lot of surf members, quite appropriately, focus on rural communities. That's really your driving force, and looking at the dynamics of rural communities. And a lot of my research is more on rural youth in those communities, and so focusing more on the individual level. But of course, those two concerns are very much connected. One of the things that I've frequently emphasized, and I want to come back to today, is the importance of appropriate measures and appropriate evidence and appropriate steps that we take. So we talk a lot about rural, and that covers a wide swath. So yesterday, when I was listening to some of your sessions, including the presentation from the minister, there was the frequent phrase rural and remote. And in that context, often it's not clear to me whether it means a community is both rural and remote at the same time, or whether they're talking about rural communities, comma, and remote communities. And as I've tried to emphasize in a lot of my research, and emphasized a lot last year, in fact, Bill teased me that I was being a bit schoolmarm and preachy about it, that it's really important to recognize that rural, remote is very, very different than some of the other rural areas. And that many of the rural urban differences, for example, in terms of education, many of the concerns that we highlight in terms of rural urban differences are really the differences between remote and everybody else, and not rural as a whole. And that means we need to focus our policy, our energy, and our information. Now, there's different definitions of rural. There's also, you might be interested to know, different definitions of youth among youth researchers. There's not a lot of consensus about when youth starts and when it stops. It used to be 17 to 24, now it could go down to 12, go up to 30. So definitions are important. One of the things that I've struggled with, particularly given my focus on rural youth, is when is a rural youth not a rural youth anymore? Now, of course, they stop being a youth perhaps at some point, but if they move away from the rural community, are they still a rural youth? One of the things that I found fascinating was an analysis I did of young people, rural young people's definitions of when they'd left home. Now, some of the questions focused on leaving the parental home, but they also involved leaving the home community. And the thing is that there wasn't consensus. Sometimes the parents thought they'd left home and the young person didn't. Sometimes it was the other way around. Sometimes two individuals with exactly the same, in the same situation, went away for college, come back at summer. One would say, I left home, I just come back in the summer. The other would say, oh, I still live home, I just away for the year. So whether or not you've left is a big question. And so it's intriguing to me. And I think those kinds of intriguing ongoing questions are the kind of thing that keeps the mind going. I know rural communities are really interested in retaining their youth and getting their youth back. But one of the things that I've frequently mentioned, and I'll take the opportunity to mention it again, is the lack that I've not seen any great policy initiative on rural communities to attract urban youth to their communities. If we believe the demographic data, there's going to be job surpluses if we get through COVID. There's not going to be enough people to fill all the jobs. People at rural communities have looked at immigration from outside the country, but they haven't really focused on how can we show urban youth how wonderful it is to live in rural areas. So I would encourage members of SURF to focus on that, to look at youth, to continue to look at gender issues. And I want to stop there, but I want to, again, just tell you how delighted and honored I am. And I encourage SURF to continue its good work, and I look forward to participating with you many times in the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. Of course, always for your wise words of wisdom. I always enjoy hearing you speak, and again, amazing points. And so well deserved. I hope that we get to celebrate with a drink in Rimouski 2021.
And I want to thank Bill for those great photos. I want some copies of the ones I have.
I think Wayne was trying to screenshot the meeting to get some of those photos. So next on our list are reflections on the 2020 conference. Does anybody have any reflections from our conference over the last 2 days? I know it was a different one.
I just want to say that it's been, I say you guys because I haven't been a part of it, really, the programming or anything like that, but an amazing job given the circumstances. And I think it's been well received by everybody that's taken part. And, you know, even if we haven't been able to been active, but we've had it playing in the background and hear some of the great presentations like I've done over my work the last couple of days. It's not been the same, but it's been a definite good substitute, adequate substitute to during the pandemic. So bravo to everybody who's put together.
And I would echo Dave's good remarks. It was heartfelt. Like there was a real connection made, even at a distance. And Kyle and Ashley and team did an extraordinary job to continue with that very profound sense of purpose that we come together and real strong playfulness and meaningful dynamics. So I think a lot of that goes to the leadership, the design, and Kyle's particular grounding in place and honoring our connection with the Indigenous communities across the country and our recognition of our work together all these years. Like I think this was just as satisfying as many conferences, really. I don't think it's less than. I think it's I mean, of course, we're going to get to a drink here soon, but apart from the hugs, it's been really, really powerful.
I echo that, and the fact that Ashley and Kyle are able to pull this together in 3 months is also, I think, just amazing. And thank you to the RPLC for everything, and Munzleen and Nicole, who helps with so much of the background things. The webinar. And if anybody in the chat wants to talk, anyone who's not a panelist, I can promote you to a panelist. Just let me know in the chat.
I would just say thank you to everyone who I think this was really a thing that came together over the whole 3 months, and people were working on a lot of this stuff for a long time. Ashley did so much work to, logistically pull it all together, but the work was all these different members and people who were doing things, writing those papers and bringing them together and being willing to contribute. So thanks everybody so much for all those contributions all in the last 6 months. And especially thanks to Ashley for being an awesome logistical rock star and partner in crime.
Can I just go back to a comment that I had put in the chat just to make sure it doesn't get lost? One of the challenges that we've consistently faced in SURF is making the case for this kind of work to our colleagues in our departments and our universities and our institutions. They're looking at publications and they're looking at grants, but they don't give much credibility to all of these types of activities that go to support both the research and the publications and the teaching and so on and so forth. And so I'm wondering if we can find a way to help our colleagues, especially at those points where their careers are changing or advancing, promotion and tenure and students who are looking for jobs and so on and so forth, that if we can sort of do some thinking about how we would make the case for these kinds of activities and their contributions to maybe the more classic types of criteria that are used, or trying to change or broaden those criteria on the basis of what we know about what people are doing, and that we use that modified for the specific people, and make sure that we let people know who are doing this work when the time comes up for promotion, or when it comes up for looking for jobs, that we are very happy to write letters and to make the case to basically educate our local colleagues about the importance of this kind of work and the activities that are being done. Anyway, that's my the point I was wondering. I'm not sure how it can be operationalized, but I did want to reinforce that point.
Yeah, if I could just jump in, Bill, the SHRC is apparently working on trying to ensure that there is more recognition of that, especially in light of the fact that for 10 years or more, they've been saying they want people to invest time with community partners, do mobilization work, do knowledge transfers and mobilization. And they are ostensibly working on a protocol that will formally recognize that. That doesn't get past the challenge that you pointed out, that our colleagues who sit on the committees still need to get out of their mindset that, yeah, but I need to count their publications. So I agree with you, but I think there is being some motion in that direction, which we should continue to encourage.
This is a good point. I think I saw in the chat that the board might be taking a look at this, perhaps. I know that we've talked about in the past, even awards of some sort for young researchers, or something that can be recognized. Yeah, it's a good point, Bill. We'll keep that going, maybe even in our strategic planning exercises. Does anyone else have any comments about the conference this year? Otherwise, I'll move on to an announcement from Kyle for the 2021 annual conference.
I won't take up too much time because this isn't really an exciting announcement, because our 2021 conference will be the conference that will hopefully be the conference that we had originally planned for 2020. So SADC was an amazing partner, and we all kind of came to this general consensus that we were all on the same page, and we wanted to delay a year and continue to run it in that kind of partnership. And we were successful in getting the connection grant. So we're just kind of repeating the announcement. Thank you so much to SADC for being flexible with that. And we're so happy that we could continue the work that we did there and carry it forward. So we look forward to hopefully being in a better place in the world and being able to actually get together in 2021 in Rimouski. Watch your emails for more information. Anyone who did submit or who was thinking about submitting, we returned all the abstracts and just returned them back. So we'll start a whole new collection session, and everything will start over again in the new year. So keep an eye out for that, and we will take it from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle, for leading that one too. Okay, so we have left in our agenda, we had an announcement of the board member online election, which we already know because we didn't have to have a formal election because all positions were acclaimed. So now we have the election for the board member executive, and we do have nominees for each of the executive positions. So the executive positions have to be held by board members, so we have to vote in our board members first. So out of our board members, we have folks nominated for each position, and we have for secretary Brennan Lowry, and for treasurer Lori Brinklow, and for president Kathleen Cavani.
So at this point in time, I would ask if there are any other nominations for those three positions. On that front, we'll do a call for president. So we have Kathleen Cavani standing for that position. And no objections or any other nominations, then we would declare Kathleen elected. Congratulations. For the role of treasurer, we have a nomination from Lori Brinklow. Any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll declare Lori elected as the treasurer for the next year. And the final position would be that of secretary. And I believe, was it Brendan that put his name forward for that position? And so that's wonderful. Any other nominations? Seeing none on the squares, I would declare Brendan elected in that position as well. So congratulations to the new executive on their one-year terms.
Thank you to the executive. This is very exciting. I'm so excited for this new executive and the new board and everything that you will achieve. I'll still be here, but in a new role as past president. If we could have a few words from our new president, Dr. Kathleen Cavani.
Wow, Sarah, I wanted to be part of the campaign that kept Sarah at the helm as was recommended yesterday. Love that idea. We have been so blessed to have your leadership. Thank you for all that you have done. You have been the epitome of elegant and efficient. You've been mindful and productive. So it's a real blend that you bring. And so Bill's quest to what is the special elixir of SURF, I think it's a wonderful question, and I think there's a great graduate degree in there somewhere for us to partner with somebody from management of library sciences and do a kind of a social dig, a narrative of the history of SURF, because it has been relationship building. So I just want to make a few remarks, thanking so many people as Sarah did already, so I won't go through that list again, but yesterday the minister spoke of people, places, and partnerships, and I think using her language, and that she repeated it in her talk, but I'm looking at our work very much as relationships that we've been building in all of these collaborations across the country among each other, this family that has been so well established thanks to all the great leadership before us. So relationship would be number one that I'd be thinking about. Our reach, making sure that we're reaching further, we're reaching deeper, we're expanding our reach, expanding our way of having a presence. Through that reach, I see us also having real impact in policy, real impact in affecting people's lives, maybe working on youth issues, as Diane suggests, and respect. Sarah epitomizes that again in the mutual respect that was evident between the minister and Sarah and the minister, and all of those relationships that SURF has developed. Sarah's just a splendid, stellar example of this. All of the former presidents have also done so with Sarah Green and Valencia and Ryan's work and Heather's work, and the list goes on of all the good people who have touched and formed this organization. So it's a real privilege for me to work with everyone. I look forward to the dynamic year ahead. I'm delighted that we have Sean on board and that we have our strategic direction so well positioned. Thanks very much to Katie's efforts. And I really envision some great times for rural life with our leadership and our shared visionary work. So thank you all for the opportunity, and let's do some fun, creative things together.
Fabulous. This is just great. Well, it's with a heavy heart that I leave the board for the first time in a while, but at the same time, my time is up. And all right. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting, everyone. I don't think I need a motion for that. And we're going to, if you could join us, we're going to do, I just put in the chat the Zoom link for a social part. So, and we can do, with the new Zoom link, we can do breakout groups and all sorts of fun stuff. So I do encourage everyone to join us there. Otherwise, thank you to everybody. Thank you to everyone on the call for showing up. Have a great day.